Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, Ammy fans. We got a very good podcast coming up because Gav has just told us he's got an exclusive rumour, but he's not going to tell us right now. He's going to keep hold of it. He's going to build up suspense. You've got to listen to the whole pod. At some point, Gav will throw it in, won't you, Gav?
Yes.
Chaps, how are we, Gav? Danny, are we good?
All grand.
Yeah, good, thank you.
To be fair, yeah, I'm not bad. I'm really happy because we seem to be playing good football, and
You found my 300 quid.
no, it's non-refundable. You know that, Gav. We seem to be playing well, chaps, and it looks like we could. I don't want to curse it, but we're looking good for the playoffs. And I would say the way that Northampton are playing, we're looking quite good for third, shall we say? Do you think?
Yeah.
There's a cautious, yeah. Nobody going, yeah, that sounds good.
To be honest, I think that's how I'm about to come across. To be honest, what you just said is very much how I come across. I was trying to take in that you was similar sort of positive, because like you say, the first part of the season, what have you? I think when we noticed things, and I noticed quite a lot of things which I believed was a little bit wrong and what have you. I think. Well, yeah, first half of the season, let's get all them bits and bats in. But now we're getting into the second half of the season and the nitty-gritty end of the season. I think we've got to be positive and get behind the team. So the less negative, the better, I believe.
Well, I mean, look at the last, not including this season, previous seasons where we've been in League Two. At this point of the season, we're kind of chasing playoff spots, and we spend the whole of the second season chasing it, and we never get in there. You know, we'll have a bad run of games, and then we'll put a run of games, and we go in. 5 games left. You kind of go, well, if we win them 3, them 4, we could get in the playoffs. Where at the moment, we are in the playoffs. We're actually going to get stronger with players coming back from injury. You know, we're hopefully going to see Malin play because he only played 1, maybe 2 pre-season games, and McAleny's back in. We'll touch on McAleny later on. And we're just, I think the whole go back from mid-December to where we are now, the games that we played, Bradford included, albeit defeat, we've been playing really well. We haven't really not played well, and we're not just scraping wins. We're all right. There's times in games, and that includes Sutton, where we might sit back a little bit, but nevertheless, it's very hard to dominate a game for 90 minutes. So we're going to look at
point, Martin, if I could.
Yeah.
Thinking about, I know we're talking about a few games today, but the one I was just thinking about, especially the first half, was Cheltenham. In the Cheltenham game, in the first half, it felt to me, we scored once, and Burko could have scored another one, probably should have done. And Watson did score one that was in offside. So really, we could have technically been 3-0 or 3-1 up in a game that we ended up losing. So even in the loss, I totally agree. We have been playing well, seriously well.
Yeah, and again, getting in positions. I mean, also you mentioned the chance that we had, but also they could have been, should have, would have, could have been down to 10 men, and that's a testament to the way that we're playing, because you're playing a League One team, and to make a keeper come out and if they really believe that we was nowhere near on their level, keeper doesn't need to come out. You go, well, if they score, we've still got a good team. We can bring it back. He was actually worried that if this one goes in, I can't let it go in. I'm going to have to take Bolton, and he got away with it. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Here's a question for you guys. Would you rather? It's a game of would you rather. Stay in the Papa John's, get to the final at Wembley, and at the sacrifice of a couple of league games. I mean, what do you think about? I suppose the question is being at the Papa John's Trophy, is that a bad thing or a good thing?
Can I take that one, Gav, first? Is that all right?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you.
Okay. because on that one, I've been thinking about what we're using the Papa Johns for, because we played a 3-4-3 from memory against Cheltenham, something like that. It was different. We're normally playing 4-2-3-1. So to me, Neil Wood is not using the Papa Johns in. He's trying to find out things maybe for next season, or maybe could this player play here, play there. So I don't think. And I think now, because we've got such a settled team and a settled formation in the league, I think the Papa Johns has run its course. It's actually allowed us to get back into good form again by trying Galbraith here, moving him to playing the odd squad player. And so the fact we're out of it now, and the fact we can concentrate on the league, as a summary, I would say is a positive. And we played well in it.
Do you think, just going off what you said there, I mean, obviously you're not stating it as a fact, it's just kind of an opinion, but
yeah.
Do you get the feeling that maybe he's only playing a 4-2-3-1 formation because that's kind of the best formation that suits with the players that he's got? And do you think 3-4-3 is something that maybe potentially that he'll work towards when he comes to signing players for next season?
But that's kind of it. I think he's looking at it. He's looking at options to transition to. But I do think the last word on that is just to think that there'll be a lot, maybe not this transfer window, but I think there's a lot of players in our team, as well as they playing, that I would class as placeholders, that will not be there when we're really going to be chomping at the bit. So I think 4-2-3-1, the quick answer, which is not my specialty, is to say it suits who we have now. Yeah.
I mean, here's one for Gav.
What you keep saying, but I keep wondering. I honestly think we just play a 4-3-3, but a few players have license to move in different areas, and you could say a 4-1-2-3 because Watt's always deeper than the other two.
Yeah.
But the original question where you started from was, it's irrelevant now. We're out of it. Let's just concentrate on the league. I'm not really got too much to say, because we could say, yeah, we won't get Wembley and stuff. We said, but we're not about to anyway. So, sorry, I'm being negative on that. Let's just move on.
Just picking on another point. I mean, we had an agenda for this podcast, and we always kind of do it in the order that we see the agenda to flow. But we've kind of going into sort of what you spoke about, wanted to speak about, Danny, in terms of 4-2-3-1. But I want to pick on something else that you mentioned. You mentioned the transfer window. When does that start? Just asking for a friend, because they keep on asking me. They keep texting me going, is the transfer window open yet?
Oh, Callum Morton's in the door. Is it Callum
just
Morton?
ask Nicky. Just ask Nicky.
I kind of say that sort of part jokingly. You know, obviously we've brought in Alex Cairns, we've brought in Callum Morton, who, and again, I don't really want to mention other people's podcasts because they won't mention ours. And to be fair, this didn't really speak nicely of us. But the Northampton podcast, I listened to it before they played us at our ground, and so it was a good podcast in all fairness. So I've been listening to it, and they was kind of gutted that they didn't go for this Callum Morton. They thought, now if we speak about Northampton, the type of team that they are, the type of players that they have and buy into, that's what makes them stronger. That's why they're always in the top 4 or 5 every season. And they was questioning why they hadn't gone for Callum Morton. They thought they see him as the type of player that suits their style of play. He's tall, he's quick, he closes down from the front. I mean, we didn't see that against Sutton as much, but in all fairness, he had 10-15 minutes. And I also think there's an element of coming in, you want to try and impress somewhat. But I've heard quite a few good things. He might not have an elite scoring record, but he might give us something else. What do we think?
When you mentioned Northampton and the podcast and their fans, I sort of a little bit, let's just calm down there sort of thing, because they're remembering playing 12 games and scoring 8 3 years ago. So other than that, he's not massively done much else. So it's more, I think, with Callum, it's one of them. I think we all want to see what he can do. Why didn't he go to Northampton? He came to us. Did they want him? Did we need him more? Did we offer more? Who knows? Like I say, I think he's I remember seeing him on. He was on TV in the playoffs, the semi-final, whatsoever. And I thought, oh, bloody hell. But like you say, it's we need time to see him. And is it a good signing? Is it not a good signing? Time will tell. But I'm holding back because them 8 goals he scored in 12 games for Northampton is impressive, but the rest of it isn't.
The thing is, there's always going to be the jury's always going to be out for any side. And the first thing fans do, certainly when you buy a forward player, is let's Wikipedia. How many goals he scored? What's his record? And I can't remember the last time I went on Wikipedia on a player and looked at the record and thought, that's impressive. You just don't. It just doesn't happen because
yours is, Martin. Yours is good on Wikipedia. I updated it before.
But you've probably set one up for me. I'm going to check that later. But
check it.
But you know, I think, I think we've all full of it. I certainly have. We kind of judge him before they've even kicked a ball, and I think it's not about what he's done for Northampton, and that was a plus. It's not what he's done at another club where he's absolutely folded. You know, it's about what he does when he comes to Salford City and what his record looks like during his time here, and then one day when he leaves, we can assess it and go, he was a good or bad player. And I think, you know, we've got to start getting. If
I remember right as well, sorry, butting in like I do, is I think that season, if I remember, he was super sub as well. So it said 12 games played. I think he only played 30 minutes a game at most. So like I said, coming on being a super sub, maybe he's got a lot of energy. I don't know. Maybe he's just clinical. But like I said, I'm sure he was super sub as well. He wasn't getting 90 minutes. He was coming on because he was on loan with him, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So,
I suppose what the reason probably why we get negative about signings is when the team's playing negative, when we're coming on these podcasts and the results haven't been good, and you're bringing in a striker, you're expecting, well, what have we brought him in for? But when you're playing well and the performances are good as they are, you kind of go, oh, let's see what you can do. I suppose your mindset will depend on how well your team's doing, effectively. We'll come back onto transfers. We kind of dipped in there. We'll dip to toe. We'll dip it out. It's too hot. Let's just have a look at the recap of the last 3 games, because you know we've had some tough games. If you look, the last 3 games have been tough. Northampton, Cheltenham away in the Papa Johns, and Sutton, who came into that game with might not be the strongest away form, but were one of the informed teams. And obviously our playoff rivals, and you know we've won 2, lost 1, but actually when it comes down to it, what matters is the league. We've in those last 2 league games we've won. We've took 6 points. Sum it up for us, guys. That's what I'm asking. Sum it up.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not going to concentrate too much on the tactics side, but I will put my flag in the ground for 4-2-3-1. And I think that's where we're going to stay. We mentioned in the last pod, we're all happy that the tempo's up. We're all happy that we're better going forward. That's always going to be at the expense of not being quite rock solid at the back, which is just the way things are. But ultimately, all 3 games considered, very, very happy with it. As I said, the Cheltenham one, I think we could have put them to bed in the first half. And with the games coming up, I mean, it's hard to pick out which ones will win and which one we won't. I think we'll have a chance in every single game of the glut coming up for sure.
Yeah. So Sammy, I'm not about to mention the Cheltenham one. It was a cup, and like I said, good football, but we got beat. Full stop. The 2 league games, absolutely fantastic and positive. That's why going into this year, I'm actually very positive towards what we were. I think a lot of the nits and griddles, which was annoying and what have you. We seem to have got rid of them. We seem to be sort of polishing our tactics up and whatsoever. And the one thing I'll say to watch out for me, so you're on your 2-3-1-6-7-4. Mine is if you watch a match and maybe try watch it this weekend and they won't play now, is I've noticed it's the triangle of Watts at the back and so it's the opposite way triangle, sorry, and Watson and Galbraith both in front of Watt. When you watch the game, when they're close together in that triangle, we tend to be in control of the game. We tend to be sort of easy going to a set. We don't look as though we're troubled. When them three, the distance between them three gets bigger, we tend to be more on our back foot and always a chance of a break for them. But unless them Watson and Galbraith do actually go forward, we're not about to get the chances the opposite way either. So that's the sort of thing I noticed. We tend to, at the beginning, we start, I think, a bit more where they're closer. Then they sort of like spread out a little bit. Still keep a triangle. They still work together. But like I said, there's more chances for both teams when that triangle goes bigger. And even then, if you're about to win the league, you've got to, you can't just stay behind you can't be Jose Mourinho and stay behind the ball and do that. It's League Two football. You've got to have chances. We actually still look, when they spread about and they get chances, that we're a better team. We look like the better footballing team. We look like the team which is about to win. So if they score one, we'll score another one, so to say. We actually do look as though we're polished, because we could very easily pick up on that and say, oh, we're leaving holes, we're doing this, but we're not. The rest of the team is very structured. And them three, like I said, the movement of them three, when it changes and it spreads, the game comes more open. And I think we purposely do that and purposely stay together to control the game at times. That's what I believe I've noticed, or my sort of viewing.
Great shout, yeah.
I suppose you can call it maybe transitional formations and things like that, in terms of, Danny might have it right in terms of first whistle, that's kind of how we lined up. But I suppose why we're seeing success is because it's probably the Neil Wood way, where, yes, okay, your two centre midfielders is what Watson. Yes, Watt might drop back in, but what that means is when Watt comes in, that space is there. Galbraith can jump in there. When Galbraith jumps in there, who's going in that space? And it's kind of the formation, although it's maybe a 4-2-3-1, throughout the game, it's versions of. So,
Correct.
It's a 4-2-3-1, or it might be a 4-1-3, 4-1-3-2, or whatever it may be. It's just, it's that giving you that fluidity throughout the game, isn't it? Rather than, there seems to be a structure. It is structured, and when we defend it looks structured in terms of we get back in our shape in the formation that was set out for. But I think when we attack, it's not. I'm not saying it's off the cuff, but it's kind of, we've got to be fluid. We've got to keep moving. When somebody moves out of that position, who's going to jump in there, fill that gap? So
just on that point, Martin, if I could.
Yeah.
Just two formations that we do definitely transition into that I see a lot are 2-3-5 with just the two centre backs back, three midfielders, and then we've got kind of 5 individual channels up front, or 2-5-3. So, but the great thing is the majority of our players are upfield, and that means we can stop the other team from breaking against us. And just a slight thing I really want to add, which is in my post, is about how we're getting so much cleverer at gamesmanship and bringing people down just as they're about to break our press. I've seen Galbraith do it. I've seen Watson do it a number of times. Just when they're about to get through us and we don't get booked, we're really doing it cleverly. I don't know if you guys have seen that much.
I think they did it quite a bit against Northampton, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think I saw, but there was, I think it was, I don't remember there. It might have been their number 7 who was playing on the right wing. He had a mare, with Torre and I think McAleny on that side. Again, he was just getting frustrated. He was getting frustrated and eventually came off because he wasn't allowed to play his game. He looked a bit of a handful, so we obviously identified that. Same as their number 9 or number 10, their forward, quite tall. Again, always seems to be in a ref face when something was going against them. And they look rattled, and I think it's just not so much always just doing a little cheeky foul to break up the play. I think it's just that the Diego Simeone, the sort of the dying arts of the game in terms of just getting under the skin, getting under the opponent's skin, so that it just ruffles the feathers. They've got the game plan up here. You ruffle the feathers. The mindset's changed because they're now focusing on, they're getting wound up, and it just knocks them off. And even if you can disrupt them for 30 seconds at a time or whatever it may be, not even 30 seconds, if you can just distract them for a couple of seconds so they make a mistake and we're good enough to break. And I think that's probably, again, that's part and parcel, Dennis. A good point.
I think with that as well, I think it goes on to the triangles and what's have you. So it's the active parts of the pitch and what's have you. So when we've got Smith up front, if we're playing the ball into Smith, etc., beginning of season, we would have had no one around him. But now we seem to have players in the right place in the active parts of the pitch. So where you're going on, where you're saying about the formations and stuff, that's why I'm not too interested, because if the away team chucks or the opposition puts 7 players on the left wing, we're not about doing a 4-3-3 or anything. We're about following them, so to say. But what we're doing is we're getting closer to the ball as a team. So let's say a triangle. So if we make a foul and let's say he trips one up, but 2 of your teammates are around there and the referee's about to go, okay, free kick one. If that player's on his own and trips him up, he's running through, so to say. So I think that's where we're a bit more clever. We're making the fouls with teammates around us. So it's just it's an action. It's a free kick. Come on, let's get back, get anywhere. So the referee's got no option but to just say, there's a free kick. Now everyone move back, whatever he organises it. Whereas if it's an open space and you trip someone up, 9 times out of 10, ref, especially in this league, will give a yellow.
Never thought of that, yeah.
Again, I've got a question here. It's just literally off the cuff as you guys are talking, rather than just kind of being so specific on the games. Two players I'm gonna mention. I wanted to mention McAleny, so I'll bring him in now. Obviously,
Tom King.
Not yet. We'll bring him in a bit.
Sorry.
He's obviously got 5. McAleny's got 5 goals in the last 3 games. I want to flip it around and say, but Smith hasn't scored in 4, including the Papa Johns. So last 3 league games, but last 4 games total, Smith hasn't scored. Is Smith still doing enough to keep his place in the starting 11?
The reason Smith's in the starting 11 is because he heads clearances away from corners and free kicks, my opinion. Just
for that reason, yeah?
He's not doing enough up front. He's in that team. He doesn't get subbed. He doesn't because, and it's a good thing to a certain extent, every corner, every free kick comes on. Smith does actually normally get on the end of it. There's only a certain point in this season where we can still rely on that, and we're about to have to maybe change it a little bit earlier. But yeah, no, definitely. I think he stays on the pitch because of his ability to help defend, because you've got to keep the ball at your net as well.
So you're saying he should be in the starting 11, Gav, yeah?
No, I'm saying he shouldn't.
He shouldn't, right? Okay.
For me, Matt Smith, the type of player he is, he will do a cracking job for you. But if you keep him in your team for 20 games, to be honest, I bet only 6 to 8 of them are actually great games and he scored a goal or whatever, and got winning goals, which he's been doing. I think he's one of them. I think you got to. It depends who you're playing against. You got to play him. You got to think about the opposition. Whereas someone like McAleny, you put him in, it doesn't matter who your opposition is. He plays. With Smith, I think you've got to manage the opposition and change it about with maybe putting Hendry or whoever up front.
On that, the phrase that comes to mind, especially for McAleny, is individual brilliance. I think of some of the goals recently. No one else in our team could score those goals. They're actually not. Some of them aren't even team goals. They weren't created for him. He created them. So he's got something that we don't have anywhere else. Matt Smith, I think the thing that may get forgotten with him, he helps us get up the pitch. If he's dropping deep onto the halfway line to flick on to Galbraith, who's almost replicating a bit of a Brandon role, like doing little channel runs off his flick-ons, I don't think we can underestimate how important that is, because when we go back to, I say every podcast, Stockport at home, Bradford at home, we couldn't get out. We had no one to hit it to, because you can't hit to Callum Hendry because, you know, at that time he wasn't putting himself about enough, and he can't play the target man. So in a subtle way, even without scoring, I think Smith does perform a great role. And I agree, from set pieces, he's massively useful. And I think Callum Morton was taller than I imagined. And for a fast, skillful player, I think that's a template that we could really, really use, because Galbraith, McAleny, and a few others are quite on the small side. Even our fullbacks are. So I think just a little bit of a sprinkling of size with Morton could be tremendous.
Going on to sorry, I didn't mention who that I mentioned now, McAleny, whatever he's called. So he's the one who I always
whatever he's called.
Mads, who goes football with us, whatever you, she loves him. She says he's best player in the world. And all season, beginning of season, I say he's rubbish. The reason I said that is because he's always injured. So when he's injured, I always say to her, oh, he's rubbish. She's like, she gets mad. When he plays and he's fit, as I think you said, he's something different. He's got his own magic. He's not necessarily he is a team player, but he's not necessarily a team player which gets him the goals. He's magic. If he can stay fit, then we've got a massive plus in just putting him on the pitch. If he doesn't stay fit, then like I say, it's another one of them. But what he shows when he's fit, he's one of our best players by far.
Yeah,
we have got an issue. Obviously, he's out of contract end of season, and it's a fine line between at the point where you offer a new contract and the point where you don't. Our conversation I had last weekend was, if he can stay fit to the end of the season, I would give him another contract. If he doesn't, because again, we had a bit of an injury scare the other week where he went off, and you kind of think we need to keep him fit. I think Conor McAleny will help us individually. And 11 players make a team. He will be the difference, I think, whether we make the playoffs or not. I think because when he's played this season, in times when he's played, the beginning of the season and the bit parts that he's played so far, he's brought the team together. Like I say, individually and as part of a team player. I would like to see him get another contract, but it wouldn't be good business to sign him on a contract if he gets another injury between now and the end of the season.
There's no ifs and buts. If he gets injured in between now and end season, at the moment, he's not getting a new contract unless he stays fit. Full stop. No ifs and buts.
But the problem you've got, though, when he's scoring 5 goals in 3 games, other teams are going to go, hello, out of contract.
Well, they have to let him go. Unless he stays fit for the rest of the season, he's gone. He's not getting another contract. And that's actually a fact. It's a fact, I think, from the club.
I agree with that. As much on it,
and I think it's right as well. And that's why, why me mate start up so many times. Because, like I say, I always say, he's rubbish. He's rubbish because he's in the treatment room, not because he's on the pitch.
Yeah, I think. I agree. I'd love to see Connor stay, but I'd love him to have the rest of the season playing, and if he can, I won't give him. I'll be again conscious to offer him 2 years.
We should be focusing on what he's giving, not next season. We haven't got 2 hours about Martin.
I like to try and
you told us we have to be quick on this one, and you won't watch Love Island after.
I just wanted to just to bring it back to Smith. I think for me personally, when Callum Hendry was leading and we was talking about number 9, not number 9 conversations. If you look at that period in the season, and I'm not blaming Hendry at all. It's just maybe having him as the number 9 or being the sole striker. We played a bit differently. I don't know what it is. It's not Hendry. It's not Hendry's fault. But when we played with Hendry, we wasn't playing the best of football. And we was if we won, we'd be scraping. We wasn't really playing well. Now, I flip it around. I'm not saying Smith's come in and all of a sudden Smith's the messiah and we've played unbelievable football just because of Smith. But when Smith has played, we've picked up massively, and it's not just down to Smith. And I think to bring it back to what Danny says, 2 things. Your point, Gav. He cleared. To be fair, 9 out of 10 balls that come in the box from a free kick or a corner, he clears it. Brilliant. That'll do me. I don't care who clears it, to be honest, but brilliant if he's strong, winning headers. Attacking, we've never in all the sort of the 8-9 years I've watched Salford, we have never had a striker that gets 20 goals a season. So Smith ain't gonna be changing the blueprint for us. But I do think that we're not just lumping the ball up to him all the time. And when we do, he does win, and he does bring in Conor McAleny, he does bring in Galbraith or Odin Bailey, and these pacey players that are now all sort of, not saying we're building the team around Smith, but it kind of is in terms of the players he's got around him.
Yeah.
Right, I'll butt in because we need to pass this to Daniel because I keep butting in. But plain and simple, there's no doubt in the world that since Smith came in this last, let's say, 10 matches, that he made a difference because we needed that change. We needed that difference to be made. We definitely need to be there. You just sort of, in back of my head, proved the point where I was going. So I'll chuck this over to Daniel now. How many times this season have we played a formation where there's two up front?
Technically, this season,
never really, I think.
No, I'd
Don't
agree,
find
yeah.
one, please.
No, I'm not going to get clever with it. Thinking about it off the cuff, I can't think of a time.
So the point is, though, so you got Matt Smith up front. So when you have a guy up there, then Martin just mentioned Odin Bailey. He mentioned, I don't think you mentioned Bolton, but I think you probably should. So when you're playing Smith up front, you need fast wingers. Callum Endre is not a winger. This new Callum isn't a winger. So it's how do you manage going to the end of the season? I mean, Matt Smith in there with them two, let's say, playing with him. There is probably a style you could do, but maybe not League Two level when you've got to fight more. We actually, around Smith, we play better when McAleny's fit because he's more of his speed, he's a winger. Bolton should be there. But that's my issue with not playing Smith every game. I definitely think there's a job for him to do. Whether it's 20 games a season, whether it's 30, whatever it is, it's more about the opposition and who we've got fit. If we've got McAleny fit and we've got this person fit and we don't want to play any other strikers with Smith, then yeah, I get it. Or we play 16 minutes, then we chuck the other strikers on, we go with two up front. I get it, but I just can't sort of get my head round. And I think the last 10 games of last season, Smith had a great start when he came in. Last 10 games with Smith up front, and we couldn't get forward enough. We just couldn't get the ball up front because of the style we was playing with Smith just up there. And although we've had a good spell now, this last 10 games of this season, if we carry on what we're doing now, it'll show us that we're not good enough. There's a massive opportunity now. We should get promotion this season. No, undoubtedly, there's no question about that. Position we're in, what we've got, there's a few things we'll probably point out after, and I'm sure Danny will as well, about what he believes we need to do. But if we stick with what we've got now, we're not going to get promoted, full stop. I see your face, sir. Mark, you just gone.
I politely disagree.
Dan,
anyway.
About the Smith and the wingers and what how do you see that sort of thing where I just ranted on about?
Okay, I'd actually dispute the term wingers because, again, going back to what I think it's a 4-2-3-1, they're not really playing as wingers, but they are wider. They're wider than central midfield and they're higher than central midfield. What is that position? I don't know what it is. Is it a wide forward? I really don't know. But I haven't got a firm conclusion in terms of what will happen. But I wouldn't want to disrupt what we've got. I fear removing Matt Smith. I genuinely fear it. Not because I think we would just end up just playing back like we did in that terrible period where we just couldn't score. But I fear it because at the moment, I think we've found a settled formula of, you can call it 4-3-3 or 4-1-2-3, which I think I probably agree with more than 4-3-3. That's fine. But for me, the revolution is over. The revolution of trying things out has gone, I think, because he's realised in terms of that type of base formation, be it the two we just talked about, I think he's going to stick with that for the foreseeable. The only thing he's going to change from what I've seen in the last 3 games we're covering here is, do we play narrow or do we play wide? And then I think, again, it's three games ago. It's a little bit of time. I think in Northampton, I think my criticism was we played very, very narrow. very, very narrow defensively. And that's again, it was an echo of probably the previous podcast when I said we're using our wide forwards and our centre midfielders to drop wide to try and block crosses, even when they're not early crosses. But then again, Sutton, we went back to the standard of having our fullbacks actually blocking crosses again. So I think all he's doing now is, right, we play wide today, lads, that's fine. We play defensively wide. Or alternatively, we play narrow. But the rest of it, the main structure, I think, is going to be consistent. So I don't think Smith is going to go anywhere, despite the fact that I think we all know, the whole fan base knows, the coaching team know, Matt Smith probably knows, he doesn't fancy him in an ideal world. But he's got him, and he's not got anyone who can replicate what Matt Smith brings, either defensively, as a link man, as a target man. We've not got an alternative to that, because it's not Dackers, who I think is out on loan. It's not Tolaj. I don't know what. It's not Callum Hendry, one of my bugbears. It's not him. So that's my take.
Yeah, what you mentioned then about we're about to stick to a plan. I think at the beginning of the season, while these podcasts, I said I've always believed this in especially football league and whatsoever, even in Premier League and whatsoever, is you've got to change your identity 3 or 4 times a season. So we stick with what we're doing now. The other team basically know what we're doing. You have to change whatever. And what you're saying, he sends the team out playing wide. I don't think he does. I think he sends the team out base that, and they have ideas. I think whether we play wide or narrow is over the opposition players. So a lot of our tactics are dependent on over the opposition players. So
I agree with that.
There'll be sessions where they said this is what happens, but I think the base will be this is our base setup, and then as the game develops, it will go into however it goes in, and hopefully there's enough coaching there for them to know if we get 3 players around the ball at all times, we tend to will be the winners, so to say. If we keep our back line to a certain, whether we play high or low, wherever it is, we'll tend to not concede as many goals. It's when we get out of position and we give them space, and sometimes we block crosses, sometimes not, etc. Them are the differences, I think. And I think we do need to change what we're doing, because what Matt Smith has done is unbelievable. He's been cracking every week for the last month or so. He's been fantastic. But we keep doing that. It is about to carry on working. And the fact that he's not scoring at the moment sort of shows that he's actually in the team to defend. But he will come back in the team. So there's no reason why you can't drop him and change things, then put him back in the team for another run. I
suppose the issue is, Gal, I don't see that the points you make are valid. I think...
Thank you.
I don't know if... I'm not saying it often, but to what Danny might... Maybe Danny might agree more on my side, because we seem to be, me and Danny kind of thinking the same thing with Smith.
You, Danny, and Rose seem normally quite close.
The thing is, I want to just go back to the original question is, would you drop Smith? And I know, Gav, you said yes, but and correct, you might have to change. At this
moment in time, not next month.
You might have to change your identity, but changing it now is not what we need to be doing when we're playing good football, we're winning games. Why would you come away from something that's working? At the point where it starts to stop, you need to, obviously, Neil Wood needs to highlight, that needs to be highlighted as soon as possible, rather than letting 4 or 5 games go down the line of bad football and not getting results. He would need to change it then. But I suppose whilst, I mean, look, Smith didn't score, but against Sutton, he went up for the keeper. The keeper flapped at the ball, and it lands to McAleny. So he's involved, and you know what? I'm happy for that. Just because my main striker isn't getting a goal every game, he's still causing trouble that allows us to score a goal from. I guarantee, if anybody else is on that pitch playing where Smith was playing, we wouldn't have scored that second goal against Sutton, because the keeper play would have reflected that a bit more comfortable. The fact that he's got a 6'5" guy in front of him.
I'm not giving him 4 out of 10s. I still think Smith is playing well, and he's doing 7s or 8s out of 10s every game. I'm not saying he isn't playing well. I'm just saying we've got to be proactive and be on the front foot and change things about whilst we're good. We can't just let it go sour or whatsoever. I think we should be proactive, because Smith isn't about to just go on the bench and just get forgot about the rest of the season. Smith's about to make a massive, massive impact on whether we get promoted. But I don't believe leaving him the team is that impact's about to mature to being us getting promoted. That's what I was sort of saying.
I don't want proactiveness. I just want wins. I don't want proactiveness, Gav. You're talking too much sense. Just whilst...
If you would have been proactive, you would have put half on red, half on black.
If you was proactive enough, you wouldn't been faffing around with your computer before the podcast. Anyway, two more things I want to wrap up with. I want to just have a touch on transfers slightly, and then I want to have a look ahead. So let's look at the transfers. Obviously, we're halfway through January now. I thought maybe we needed 2 or 3 players. We kind of have brought 2 or 3 players in terms of Cairns and Morton, but I still think we probably need. Again, we've got Malin and Shepherd back, or coming up. They are back, but it's gonna take at least another 4 weeks to integrate them into the team and give them some minutes and get fitness again. But I still think we need about 2 players personally, and I hope. I'm in 2 minds. Here's one for you. See what you think about these 2 things. Either we're kind of waiting to get we're obviously doing deals in the background. We're trying to negotiate, and we're trying to negotiate for the players that we actually want, rather than going, oh, all right, can't get in, move on to the next one. We're obviously maybe trying to take our time to get the right person in, or we're kind of going, right, well, we've got Malin coming back, Shepherd's coming back, we've got players coming back. McAleny is staying fit for now, so we've got to take that as it is. Players are coming back. We haven't got the biggest team anyway, but players are coming back. Do we need to sign? And because we've got so many players out of contract end of the season, I wonder whether we've looked and thought, let's see if we can make do before we sign anybody else to see what division we're going to be in next season. Because if we go to League One, we're going to have to sign different types of players. I know last year we've been signing players from a couple from Championship, from League One, better players. But I just wonder whether they're just looking at what division we're going to be playing in next season before making transfer decisions. I don't know. What do you think?
Go on, Dan.
Left back.
But I don't think we're going to sign a left back, Danny. But
no. But when I think of it, just and as much effort as Ibu is definitely putting in, I can't. And as positive as he's trying to play, I don't think that's his nature at this level. I don't think he's quite good enough to consistently do that. His crossing, we've talked about the 1 out of 10. You can argue 2 out of 10, but it's still a pretty low end. If he got injured, I kind of despair. Yes, I praised Burko. I thought Burko played well against Cheltenham. I thought he did fine, but I actually don't think he's good enough for what we need. Torre, regardless of how effective he may have been over the years. So to me, left back is the number 1 priority. And I think midfield we're okay. I'm getting more and more worried that we potentially won't be able to keep hold of Galbraith for another season, because what I'm seeing now is really exciting. The ownership he's taking of things. So we seem okay around midfield area, but left back, I would say.
Gav, what were you thinking? Do you agree?
Torre doesn't get injured, so don't worry about that. He just doesn't get injured.
Exclusive.
I've just said that now. Galbraith will be in League One next season, so I think there's a good chance that he might be with us, so we can afford his wages. But for me, I think depending on fitness and injuries, we won't know this. We haven't got a clue about this. We've got a squad if everyone's fit, who are good enough to get us promoted. Full stop. If I was the team who has spent the most money the last 3 or 4 seasons and want to get to League One, I would bring in still another 2 or 3 players and be greedy. If we can afford to be greedy, because I don't think we can change 4 players who are good players off the bench onto a pitch as substitutes. I think we need to be able to do that by the end of the season. And if we say we're about to get a couple more injuries, I think we need to be greedy and get 2 or 3 more players, whether it's, I don't think we need a midfielder, but whether it's a left back, a right back and a forward or something like that, to be able to have quality on the bench to be able to change a game and rely to end of the season. That's my coming from it. We're good enough to get promoted as we are. If everyone's, I would want to be greedy. I want to get 2 or 3 more in, because this is the best chance we've had to get promoted this season. And if we've got a few things we'll talk about probably in a bit. And if we've got that option of bringing 3 or 4 good quality players from the bench to change a game, then I'll be surprised if we don't go for it.
Yeah, well, I agree. I suppose why I raised the point. I'll just refer back, listen to the Northampton podcast, and they was kind of, they've dipped. So basically, I listened to their latest one yesterday, and they were saying obviously their form has dipped off, and they were 7 points clear of fourth, and now the chasing pack's really within touching distance of them, and they're kind of saying how their bench, their starting 11 is probably one, in their opinion, probably one of, if not the strongest starting 11 in the league. That's their opinion, and I don't really know. But they were saying that their bench wasn't strong enough, and they think that that's probably what would let them down again this season. And that comes back to your point, Gav, where, yeah, I don't want to sound like, yeah, we've got money, so let's just spend it. There's got to be some commerciality to a decision. But again, it comes back, if there's the right players there now that we can bring in, then we do it. It should be a no-brainer, because we've never been in, like I say, go back to the beginning of this pod, we've never been in that position. This at the start of a new year, going into the new year, being in the playoff spots. It's now in our hands to secure that playoff spots, even maybe a third. First and second, I think, is gone, but we can only chase the next position and just get to finish as high as we can. But we've got a good opportunity to maybe sneak in third if we keep playing the way we are. We've got a good chance of finishing third. But if not, we get playoffs, and that'll be the best season we've had and the best opportunity to get up. So I think what I'm saying is we need to strengthen.
I think, like I said, I think third's what we should be aiming for. Full stop, not playoffs. Third.
Well, yeah, you of course you don't just settle for playoffs. If you're playing well, you always look at the next spot, and chase the next person there. Guys, I want to wrap it up in 5 minutes. So what I want to do is I want to look at, obviously, the rest of January. We talk about the transfer window. We're halfway through January, but we've still got 4 games between now and the end of January. So it sounds like January is still a long month. There's still a lot of football to play in this month. Let's just sort of generally review the next 4 games rather than going individually, of what our expectations are out of those 4 games, because this really could not make and breaks too strong of a saying for the next 4 games, but really the next 4 games can really put us in a good position, a real good position, and really important. However, I thought there's some easy games to come, but as we know, League Two is not really an easy game. If we look at what we've got coming up this Saturday, Barrow away, okay, the rate form has dipped off. 1-1, drew 3, lost 1 in the last 5. Okay.
Your summarising is quite good.
Do what?
We already got into detail.
Midweek, we have Colchester away. Now, Colchester are 19th, but they've won 4 out of the last 5, and they're currently second in the form. If you look at the last 6 games.
Easy.
After that, the only probably easy game out of that is probably Crawley, because they're in absolute state.
Dire straits.
They're in dire straits. They're 21st in the league. They're just in a nightmare. And then we've got Walsall at home. Again, 1-3, drew 1, lost 1. So, to be fair, I'm not doing Crawley a disservice, by the way. But good 3 out of those 4 games are quite tough, aren't
they? For me, I'm not a specific analyzer of other teams. I mean, yeah, they come to our place and they play, and I'm so intent on watching what we're doing. that I very rarely pick up on what an opposition is trying to do to us, or what the form is like until maybe the day before. I just got a great feeling. I just think team spirit's good, tempo's good, players. It just seems like a tight unit, and I just wanted to link back to one thing you were talking about, building the squad there. That I'd be a bit concerned bringing a good number of players in now, because it might end up being like when they brought Faustino Asprilla in at Newcastle, and it kind of disrupted things. Yeah, he was a great player, but that season didn't end like it should have done for Newcastle, because he just brought in a rogue element, and I think there's something very settled now. And if you have a squad that's too big, that's when people start to get a bit disengaged, because all of our bench players, again, I've said it in a post recently, so it's nothing new necessarily, but Smith's come back in, not missed a step, he's trying his heart out. McAleny's come back from fitness and stuff. Henry's been in and out, and when he's in, his attitude looks better. So I wouldn't want it to be like a real real burgeoning squad. I'd like to keep it. I'd like a left back, but I think we're going to be all right next 4
He's getting injured this weekend.
You want to keep, what you're saying is, Danny, you want to keep the squad lean.
My Bluetooth just cut out there, I'm afraid. Sorry, I missed that, Martin. It'll come back.
He said, are you keen?
You want to keep the squad nice and lean.
I do, definitely. Yeah, keep it slim.
Yeah. What do we think? I mean, look, there's 12 points in offer there. Of course, we want 12 points, but what is there a minimum bar? A maximum to 12. We want the 12. No doubt we've got the potential to get the 12, but what's the minimum?
Before you say that, Martin, I think I'll probably have a chat about it as well. You didn't give me any time. No, plain and simple is these next. You mentioned the teams. I'm not from now until the end of the season. Not interested. We got through a lot of this picky packet. I think there's certain things I'm hoping for and looking for. One is we're about to carry on playing well, and we're about to get promoted. To do that, I think it depends if we bring anyone in or not to strengthen up, or if our current squad stay fit. So them are two together. The next one is Neil Wood. He's never done a January, he's never done a February, he's never done a March, he's never done an April, obviously. So these are all different from what's happened now. The game and the league changes every month this season, because it gets your ass. Ferguson says your ass gets tighter and all that sort of stuff. So it's can he cope with that and the pressure? The things I've noticed, which I'll be watching out for, is his decision making on one, the lineup, two, his substitutions. Is he making them? Are they early enough? And I think his substitutions, for me, if we've got a couple of players on the bench, I think we need to know before we get to March and April, we need to be giving game time to the players on the bench. They need to be coming on at 60 minutes, because if we get to, let's say, March, April, and we need our players off the bench, but they've only played 15 minutes here, 10 minutes there, what can we actually expect them to give us a good performance? So I'm hoping that he's about to give more game time to some of these players, not like necessarily starting, but coming on for 25 minutes, 30 minutes and get game time. So I think there's lots of them niggler things there where Neil Wood will show from now until the end of the season how good he is and can he get promoted. 100% we believe he can, but I think them sort of things, what I've just mentioned, are about to make the difference going towards the end of the season. And I've got full confidence in him, because we picked on all the nitty and gritty at the beginning of the season, and I've been the worst one for now. Oh, this, that, and another. And he's got past that. He's got us to a stage where we're 1 point off third, aren't we? Or wherever we are, and it's like he's done a fantastic job here. If he can just carry on and smash smash January, February, March. Once we come in April, like you say, it's we're about to be positive. I don't think we necessarily have to worry about the other teams, because we've got something in place which is special, and he's built that.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm looking at what he does more than what the opposition does this next few months. And like I said, hopefully I'll get a selfie with him at the end of the season.
Can I just say one thing? I've learned more from watching Neil Wood's team this season than I've learned under any other manager of any of the team, because the complexity of some of the things that he's done and how he's got us out of that terrible form has been maybe not incredible, but it's been really admirable. He's kept it together. He's not panicked, even though he's not got the experience at this level, leading a team of men. So he's taught me a hell of a lot. And again, it's all about opinions. I'm maybe not seeing it right, maybe Gavin's seeing it right, maybe Martin is, whoever. It's fine. But I do think he's got an outside chance of being the next Arteta. I really do. Stick with him, and he could really, organisationally and culturally, do something at this club that's seriously special and go on to major things.
Where is he? He's there. He's here.
Neil would we trust?
Bless it.
No, definitely, like I said, I'm confident he's got the ability to get us up this next 4 months. But again, it'll be his decisions which will do it. So if we're sat here in summer, it was good first season, but he was inexperienced. Like, we'll do it next season. He's failed. He's got where he's got us to now, and the squad and the coaching staff and the club, where they've got to now, without getting promoted this season, it's a failure. I'm having none of this, always inexperienced, this, that, and other, because no other manager has got us to where we are now. And he's not just done that with luck. He's done it with keeping going, with structure, with working hard, with turning up, with not throwing his toys out of his pram. So, like I say, it's he's the man.
He shouldn't be sacked though. There's no conditions under way he should be sacked at the end of this season, no matter what happens. I cannot.
We're getting promoted, so it doesn't matter.
Well, covering the bases, just covering the bases.
It doesn't matter. We're getting promoted, so like I say, he's obviously watching. Just remember. First one for the selfie, please, Neil.
Neil, bring it home, son. Well, guys, I think obviously we're kind of just going over, sort of looking at January overall. Barrow away on Saturday. So look, those who are going, train, car, walking, whatever, have a safe journey. Enjoy the game. Get behind the boys. Sing your hearts out. And hopefully another 3 points come 5 o'clock on Saturday night.
I owe him 300 quid for beer on the train. I thought you were twin, Martin.
Oh, you've come to the wrong podcast, Gav. Sorry, mate.
Exclusive. Do you want the exclusive?
This is about Oh, yes. Right.
I forgot the exclusive.
We've gone past the hour mark, but yeah, we forgot about the exclusive. Yes, go, Gav.
It's not necessarily that interesting, but I think it's basically, so the AJ Bell, I believe, so rumour has it, it's actually Man United actually snipped in and they're about to be stealing it for the under-23s and the ladies.
What, so are they going to come away from Lee Sports Village?
Yeah, I believe so.
Wow.
Rumour has it. I don't know any details about the rugby club and stuff like that, but I assume Man United have a lot of land in Salford and Trafford anyway as well, so maybe they're about to do something for the rugby club to move them. I don't know.
Well,
that's actually quite a solid rumour to a certain extent. But again, it might not be true.
Well, Ammy fans, you've heard it here first.
So in 6 years, when they redevelop Old Trafford and put a ground there, they'll probably sell it to Salford then.
Well, we'll have to watch this space, won't we, Gav? Any further developments? If you email Gavin. We'll give out Gav's number end of this podcast. You can text him any question when he could. Guys, thank you very much. I thought it was a good pod, actually. Without going really into too in detail about the games, I think we've actually had a more broader discussion about the team in general. I think a little bit of a different spin on the podcast rather than just going kind of how we played. Everybody's watched the games.
Dan and me, I think, were quite broad. I think you was giving too many details and all that rubbish. And this on Saturday, me and Dan, I thought you was fantastic.
You used to make the podcast, not me. We know that.
Oh, no. It's your podcast.
Not my podcast. It's the fans' podcast.
We love you for it.
That's like Jimmy Bullard saying, "Who's the winner?" And they go, "You're the winner." Go, no, football's the winner. Ammy fans,
the winner. Jimmy's the winner.
Ammy fans, you're welcome. Right, guys. time to let's bring it to an end. So thanks very much for a good podcast, guys. I won't be at Barrow away because I don't get to do away games because I'm an armchair fan when it comes to away games.
And you're supposed to be getting the beers in.
No, that's the time when we definitely leave. Guys, thank you very much. Safe journeys if you go into the game.
Bye, everyone.
Catch you next week.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.